Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're doing a build your own palette. I've done quite a few of these BYOP videos where I use my single shadows to create a similar sort of palette, similar color story, similar vibes to another palette, whether that's something that has been discontinued. For example, like I did with the Master palette by Mario, the ABH collaboration that he did several years ago, or like today's video where I take a palette that is pretty pricey and I try to recreate it with my single shadow collection. This is the third palette that I've created that's inspired by a Natasha Denona palette. I think she really does come up with some really pretty, really interesting color schemes. I did do a BYOP inspired by both the gold palette, which I called the goldish palette. More recently, I did the love palette, the love-ish palette. Today it's the bronze palette, so I guess this is my bronze-ish palette. Before we get into the shades and the swatches and the tutorial and all that fun stuff, I just want to give you sort of a little overview about why I do this little BYOP inspired series. The first number one thing you need to know is this is not meant to be a dupe video. The bronze palette has 15 shades, my palette has 12 shades, so it definitely can't be a dupe because it's not the same number of shades. And I don't have the bronze palette, I'm just sort of being inspired by the color scheme. I'm not trying to exactly replicate the palette is what I'm getting at. I'm just trying to get the same vibe, enjoy the same color story without investing in a new palette. That brings me to my second point. I am in no way telling you not to buy the Natasha Denona bronze palette. If it's something that interests you, if it's in your budget, if you're feeling it, if you love it, if you think it's gonna make you super duper happy, absolutely go for it. I have definitely dropped a pretty penny on some palettes. If you know my channel well, you know that the Huda palettes, particularly Mercury Retrograde, is one of my top favorite palettes, and that palette is almost $70. I think it's worth every penny. And from what I hear, the Natasha Denona palettes are too. A lot of people in the beauty community who I love and who I respect and trust love the Natasha palettes, and they continue to purchase them, continue to invest in them, and I am 100% sure it is worth it. But if you're like me and you like playing with your single shadows, you need more motivation to play with your single shadows, this is just sort of encouraging you to use what you already have. I'm also not encouraging you to go and buy all these shadows. In fact, I used shadows in here that you can't go and buy because some of them are either discontinued or out of stock, just to further drive home the idea that you should just play with what you have, use what you have. Even if you do end up purchasing the bronze palette, it's still fun to play with the other shadows, mix and match, build some palettes. So just to sum it up, this is not meant to be an exact dupe, and I'm not telling you not to buy the bronze palette. I'm just telling you I'm not gonna buy it, and this is what I'm gonna use instead. For this palette, all of the shadows are from ColourPop. Like I mentioned previously, some of these shades are discontinued or out of stock. I just encourage you to look through the shades that you already have in your collection, and I'm sure, especially since these are all quite neutral shadows, that you can find something to stand in place of some of these discontinued singles that I'm recommending today. First up, I'll show you the swatches of my bronzish palette side by side with Natasha Denona's swatches of her bronze palette. Definitely not a one-to-one dupe, exact dead-on shade match type of situation, but it's pretty darn close, and I really do feel like you're gonna get the similar looks, the similar vibes. So I was really happy with how this little swatch comparison turned out. Now let me show you all of the shades in my bronzish palette. Now's the time to pause and write down the shade names, or take a screenshot if you want a record of the shadows that I'm using here. On the top row we have Crackle, Top Notch, Koi, and Mr. Sandman. The middle row is Feathered, Sea Stars, The Vibes, and BPM. And the bottom row is Boxer, Over It, 20 Something, and Wake Up Call. I didn't really have a shadow like the shade Rhodium from the bronze palette. So in my swatch, it's actually the shade Feathered with Mr. Sandman on top. It just worked out really, really nicely. And I definitely encourage you to play with your shadows in this way. If you're looking to dupe, recreate, be inspired by a palette, don't be afraid to mix two shadows together. Sometimes that's the perfect way to find that one shadow that you're drawn to, that you feel like you're missing in your collection. You can just be a little mad scientist sometimes and mix it up yourself. Now that you've seen all the shadows in my bronzish palette, I want to show you a tutorial for the look that I'm wearing. I was inspired by this beautiful photo from Natasha Denona's Instagram page. Again, not an exact recreation of this eye look, but I feel like I did a pretty decent job. So let's get into that eyeshadow tutorial now. As always, I'm starting with my favorite eye base. It's the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Just putting that all over the lids, and then I'm going straight into my transition shade. First, I'm using this one called Wake Up Call. This is a softer, very neutral brown. So I'm just building that up into the upper crease area, and I'm also adding a little bit of that along the lower lash line. Next, I really want to warm up the crease, so I'm using the shade Sea Stars on the exact same brush and putting that a little bit lower in the crease. That way we get a good blend of both of these shades, and I also need that to be a little bit deeper. Speaking of depth, I'm using the shade Feathered. This is a warm, deep matte brown on a small, flat detail brush, and I'm packing that really, really densely on the outer corner of my eye. We're creating a spotlight look and also a little bit of a smoky look, so I took that on the outer part of my lower lash line as well. Then for the spotlight, I took a small portion of the inner part of my lid and really started to build up that shade Feathered as well. Went back for just a little bit of blending with my crease brush, no additional product. I just wanted to get everything really smooth and added even more of that feathered shade. I really want this to come through with a high contrast depth. Using the shade 20 something on my finger, I'm applying that to the center, the spotlight part of the lid. This is just a nice soft gold. And now I'm using Mr. Sandman. This is how I created that purple sort of duochrome shade from Natasha's palette. So I'm using the same flat detail brush and packing that right on top of the feathered shade on both the inner and outer corners of my eyelid. Then I needed just a little bit of pop of warmth, just a little bit of this shade called Vibes to add a little bit of warmth to that gold and just a little bit more depth to the look overall. Now for the inner corner, I can't really tell if there's anything on the Inspiration Look inner corner, but I did decide to take the shade Over It and just dab that on just a little bit for that inner corner highlight you know I love. Then I curled my lashes and added the Carity Bold Mood Mascara. This is the finished look. Like I said, it's not exactly like the Inspiration Look, but I feel like it's a version that's definitely very wearable for me. It's something that I like. I would 100% wear this look out, especially like a sultry kind of date night shimmery look. I'm really happy with how it turned out. That's it. Now you've seen my bronzish palette in action. I really love the way this look turned out. I think it looks pretty decently like the Inspiration. Definitely not exactly the same, but much like my bronzish palette, this is sort of like that lookish. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this palette as much as I've enjoyed making it and playing with it. I definitely encourage you to play with your own makeup stash, enjoy the things that you have. Let me know what you thought of this palette, of my eye look, and also let me know which palette you want me to recreate or be inspired by next. I always love to hear what you guys think about things too, so leave all your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! That wasn't even close to being words. Why? Huh? Why? It's not going well. The words, I I don't even know if they're up here, but they're definitely not coming out. We'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at. For this palette, Auto the Shadows. Doing great. You're really crushing it today, honestly. Now, I don't really have a shadow. Okay, I'm fine. Wow, we're really going downhill today. It's my BYOP. And also, can we just appreciate how actually stunning this model is? She's like perfect. Wow, anyway. Oh guys, the matching nails are back. Yes, I painted my nails bronze just for this bronze palette. I mean, here we are. Finally, the matching nails have returned. The commitment to matching, it never really went away. Never really went away. Let's be realistic, it's always there. Okay, what should I do now? Film a bunch more videos, you say? Alright, I guess I will. Wish me luck. Hopefully my neighbors don't start mowing. Do you ever get distracted by your own eyeshadow? This is also very shiny, so it's hard not to get distracted by it. Wow, I'm glad that I didn't do a super metallic highlighter. I almost did. But this like little bit softer glow highlighter with the super shiny eye is really working for me. I also haven't been wearing bronzer. I've just been wearing blush and highlighter and no foundation, no bronzer. All I wear is concealer, blush, highlighter, and eyeshadow. Well, obviously I'm going to do brows and lips and mascara and all that stuff. So what I'm really saying is I stopped wearing foundation and bronzer. Oh, that's not really impressive when you think of it that way. Okay, I'm gonna go because I am devolving. I love your beautiful face so much. I hope you appreciate all these swatch stains on my arm as much as I appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye.